and the webinar is now live. I can see our attendees trickling in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Lunchroom. Please forgive us for the slightly late start. We're sort of coalescing schedules from across various parts of the, I was going to say country, but I think just the Northeast today. We appreciate your patience. I'm Sarah Schofield-Manser. I'm the Assistant Director of Special Events and Partnerships at the A.R.T. I use the she series of pronouns. I am a white woman with dark shoulder-length hair that's worn down and loose on my shoulders. I've got a very fuzzy sweater on because it's a little chilly where I am today. I'm sitting in a computer chair in an office with a light yellow background, and I am wearing headphones. A few pieces of housekeeping before I turn it over to our fabulous hosts for today. I'd like to acknowledge first that the land that the Loeb Drama Center and the Oberon sit upon is unceded land of the Massachusetts people. I also would really quickly like to remind everyone that if you've got any questions for our guests throughout the episode today, feel free to submit them using the Q&A feature that's at the very bottom of your screen. We'll reserve the last 10 to 15 minutes of the hour for questions, but feel free to submit at any time if something comes to mind for you. Emma and Sophie, it's fantastic to have you here today. Since we got started a little late, just in the interest of keeping time and not cutting into your conversation, I'm going to turn things over to the two of you. I'm going to stay on screen for a hot minute just to make sure everything goes smoothly and according to plan, as you know I like to do.
Thank you, Sarah. We're all good. We're all good. Time is perfect and we're here. That's the most important. Hi, I'm Sophie Ancival, one of the line producers at A.R.T. I take she, her, and I am wearing a very bright yellow dress, some turquoise earring, red lipstick, and glasses. It's like my power outfit. And that's it. I'm going to throw it to Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Watt. My pronouns are she, her. I am the other line producer at the A.R.T. and I am zooming in from Somerville, Mass. I am a white woman with shoulder-length red hair. I am sitting in my office. You can see my roommate's art desk in the background because this is the work from home era. And we are so thrilled to be joined today by two amazing Oberon collaborators of ours. They are Rhode Island-based, award-winning poets, performers, and teaching artists, Justice, Ameer and Chrysanthemum Tran. Would you guys like to join us?
Yes.
Hi, all.
Hi, friends.
Hi.
This is when I disappear from the screens. I just wanted to wait and share the screen with this fantastic bunch for a hot minute before I jumped off. So lovely to see everyone as usual. See you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, so Justice and Chrysanthemum, would you like to introduce yourselves to our lovely attendees here at the lunchroom?
Sure. Hi, y'all. My name is Justice Ameer. I use Z, them, zero pronouns, or she, her is fine as well. I am a light-skinned Black woman. I have my afro kind of styled to the side with a different shades of purple sweater and purple lipstick as well, and gold earrings. It's so exciting to be here with you all. And yeah, and I'll pass it to Chrysanthemum.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chrysanthemum. I can use she, her pronouns. Preferably, you don't talk about me in the third person at all. I just exist in your memory. Just kidding, but not really. So I'm colorblind. I'm not sure if I can necessarily describe the colors that I'm wearing, but I am a Vietnamese woman. I have maybe blue or purple on and maybe orange or green.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Perfect.
And I don't know what color things are behind me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
this is all perfect. This is actually the perfect description of like how you perceive the things around you and how you perceive it for you. And this is all perfect. This is great.
Yeah, I will say that most skin looks like a different shade of green to me. Like in kindergarten, I was coloring in skin with green crayons. And so like all of their skin looks like a shade of green to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. That is fair. Awesome.
So Justice and Chrysanthemum are here today because they made this amazing show called ANTHEM with us at Oberon I think it was in February of 2019 was when we actually did the show. You can stream it now. It is available on the A.R.T website. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend that you watch it. It is really getting me through this time in the world. So I was hoping that the two of you would be able to talk a little bit about how we got connected and kind of like how you came to be part of the Oberon community.
Yeah.
Start us off.
Do you want to start?
Sure. I believe that we were introduced to the Oberon through a poet and organizer based in Boston named Kaylee O'Keefe. And they were opening for Kit Yan, who also has a show that you can stream on the ART website right now. And for 2018 and 2019, during Kit Yan's Queer Heartache show, beautiful, marvelous, full of heartache. And yeah, so we both opened, and second year that we opened for him, Justice and I performed a piece that we do together. It is a poem, a two-person poem, and it is inspired by I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, which does establish the foundation for our show, which is about reclaiming the idea of the anthem.
Yes, and so after we opened for Kit that second time and did that poem, the Oberon approached us and was like, we don't really know what we want to do, but we'd love to work with the two of you. And then we were like, well, we don't really know what we want to do, but we would love to work with you too. And then this idea developed and we started deciding what pieces to put together. And we also decided we wanted our friends involved. And so we got quite a few of our friends to come accompany us with musical elements, Simon Olsen, Sweet Pea Pumpkin, and Ameer and Chrysanthemum. And then we also got some friends to guest star for us, but some poems, and had a lovely tech fun day of our first show with the Oberon team, who's amazing. And it worked out really, really beautifully.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we have, I'm actually currently somewhere hidden in the Oberon as we're continuing to do our work and preparing some new shows and some new release for everyone within the series. But I know that our process is often described as a little different for artists that come in. So, and in prepping, you've told us a little bit of like how different it was for you. And I'm curious of like, if you could share with our friends listening in a little bit how that was different for you and how being in a theater can offer something different for poetry and for exposing your words and what you're saying.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of theater background. I did theater through high school, and then I continued doing lighting for theater through for about 4 years after. And I love theater, but I never had the chance to blend poetry with theater. And so I think when we were coming into this, like, you know, oftentimes we're performing in like school auditoriums, we're performing literally at bars, in random rooms, at churches, like random places, right? And so one thing that was hard for us to even conceptualize, but really, really fun to play with was like, what do we do with this whole theater space? Like, y'all have lighting, y'all have sound, y'all have a projector, we have instruments, we have a set, we have a team, we have a staircase. We're like, we can do so many things with this. And so it was really like figuring out what pieces those were. And so like, I was very much like, okay, I want to talk about the lighting for all of the things. Right. And then, yeah, I'm gonna let Chrysanthemum go because I can keep going on and on.
Something that was so cool about the fact that we got to do a theater show is that we come from the world of poetry slams. I'm going to provide a definition of poetry slam because a lot of people get confused about what that is and or how you make sustainable careers as poets. A lot of people assume slam poetry is about a particular kind of cadence and reading poems emphatically. Not necessarily. Historically, poetry slams originate out of working class Chicago. And in order to take poetry out of these higher institutions, it was really about bringing poetry to people in bars. In a poetry slam, it's a competition. It's like ice skating, except the judges are 5 random people, probably inebriated, who are just showing up at the bar. And after we read a poem, they give a score between 0 and 10. This happens in bars, but it is a national, if not international, game. And there are different tournaments that happen with this format. Because of that, we have performed mostly in a lot of bars, and being able to go into a theater setting was really cool because your crew at Oberon, the team is so phenomenal. Your ability to do anything, to create new worlds on stage, I'd never been able to do that in my life. And I think that was something really beautiful about the collaboration because we did do the first rehearsal and all the lighting and all the tech like 6 hours before we went on. And it was perfect because the team is really perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you had the idea of, without bringing any spoilers, I think, to the piece, but like, I think there's an anecdote that's pretty fun of like you had the idea of having mannequins in the venue. Can you tell us about what happened? Like, I don't know. I've never worked with mannequins. I've never dressed one. Like how did that come about? Like what did that bring into your world? Did that add to everything that you were saying to be able to have those things?
It came up in a production meeting, right? We were like talking about the way that the piece engages with this idea of like the gay icon, right?
Yeah.
And somehow we got onto the fact that the A.R.T had some mannequins sitting out in our warehouse. and we brought them in and you dressed them, right?
Yeah, it literally, I think, was the production meeting we had, and y'all said we have some mannequins, and y'all had asked us what we want the set to look like. And I don't think Chrysanthemum and I even talked about the set. Like, I don't think we even had an inkling of like, oh, yeah, we do. She probably should have other things on stage, right?
That was probably the one element that we didn't account for because, in addition to you focusing on lighting, we were also focusing on like video and audio. And then when you were like, oh, we need to have something on the stage, I'm like, oh, not just me, not just Justice. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we brought a bunch of things from our wardrobes and then put these mannequins on stage. Y'all will see. And then we just kind of dressed them. And I'm pretty sure I ripped at least one thing. There was one mannequin that just the arm was like at an angle. And it was just so hard to get this blazer on this mannequin. But it was also like the only piece of like clothing that needed to be on a mannequin. So I was like, ooh, I was like, no matter what we do, you're going to be dressed, mannequin. Okay. You're not going on here naked.
Yeah.
Going from poet to set designer. To dresser.
Maybe this is a good moment for me to share just like a little clip of the show with the audience so they can start to see, how we went from this like I think slam poetry is always inherently super theatrical, but the way that the two of you and your collaborators embraced just using theatrical toys to give it even a little bit more emphasis and performance quality. Yeah. So you're actually going to hear, hang on 1 second. You're going to hear the poem that Justice and Chrysanthemum performed originally for Kit Yan, which gave us the idea to do this piece in the first place, but you're going to see it in its final finished form, I guess I would say.
Y'all better quiet down. Nothing. I've been trying to get up here all day for your gay brothers and your gay sisters in jail that write me every motherfucking week and ask for your help. Yeah. And you all don't do a goddamn thing for them. I do not believe in a revolution, but you all do. I believe in the gay power. I believe in us getting our rights, or else I would not be out there fighting for our rights. That's all I wanted to say to your people. If you all want to know about the people that are in jail, and do not forget Bambi Lamore and Dora Maar, Kenny Messner, and other gay people that are in jail, come and see the people at Storehouse on 12th Street, on 640 East 12th Street, between B and C, apartment 14. The people that are trying to do something for all of us, and not men and women that belong to a white middle class, white club. And that's what you all belong to. Revolution now!
Oh no, not I. I will survive. As long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive.
Yesterday, the LGB movement forgot the T. Maybe after their honeymoons, they'll come back for us. For every float down Main Street,
another nameless body parades with it. But hasn't love won? Isn't love just love? My queer stayed home last night.
And wasn't that a revolution?
A hashtag that failed to trend.
Some Americans have so much pride for this country.
They'll fight for us to load the ammunition.
Even though our bodies house the bullets. My gender taught me how to be afraid. But my skin taught me how to turn a profit. So leave my body in the street tomorrow. Coca-Cola would pay a lot for this kind of sugar. What's a girl like me to the movement?
If not always ready to fight for a sister.
If not loudmouth.
Inconvenient pronouns.
Every morning, I add to this unending litany of names. I'm always grieving.
Growing my sister's names into gardens.
Sometimes it's just carnal.
The way we find family in dark corners.
bend toward each other's light, blooming red honeysuckle. To the family we have found, we have not forgotten your blood. It's okay that for a night we held each other, called it church, and prayed to ourselves. Love wins when we resurrect each other, even while we're still alive. Death, we refuse you. We breathe, sweat, strut, paint survival on our faces. Our love transcends marriage. It's more important than this country ever will be. Our love isn't pride, it is power. A tear gas canister cocktail. We speak with every language, through every death, threat. Our love is a home-cooked meal, a warm bed for all our sisters. We take every building back. Every girl, boy, butch, and femme now has a place. We pave the streets with lavender. We shatter all the windows, wear the glass like armor. We dance so hard, your cities fall to their knees. Beg us for forgiveness. We love without permission, the same way we will survive.
Go on now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye?
Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die?
Oh, that's bonkers.
Wow.
I mean,
Every time I watch
scared
it.
to watch it. I've been so scared to watch it. So that's like my first time watching it. And whoo,
Boy.
I was like, who's that up there? Wow.
it is such like a great day to see it. Also, it's just like it's so good, so good.
And I have to say, Andrine's arrangements of some of these songs in this show.
And
That one-
Andrine was what, 16 years old during the
I
show?
16 or 15, I think. Yeah.
Shout out to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just watching that it was cool to see all the lighting elements, cinematically. And I think something that maybe the people who might not have seen it might not know is that our musical accompanist had been doing music for all of the poems prior to that. So that was the first unaccompanied poem. And I think that was a part where I could feel the chills in my body because I couldn't rely on the musical support of other people. It was just you, me, Andrine, and a video of Sylvia Rivera from way back when. And yeah, it felt really surreal to see that just now. Let me go check it out. Stream Anthem on ART. #1 on iTunes.
No, but definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
for those who haven't seen it, I think it's really powerful to see the entire show together. I think it was really amazing to see you come together in the venue and realize the vision. And I remember we had 2 nights, and both nights the audience left invigorating, and the energy in the room was about like I had chills when I saw it right now, and the energy in the room was about that, and I think that translated well, like how everybody felt when they left, energized and empowered. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. And go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it definitely was a sort of act of love to have so many people come to the shows. And I know we sold out and we're close to selling out, if not selling out the next night. And so many of the folks in Boston and Providence just really showed out for us. People we love, people who we didn't know but knew of us. And we also had enough people donate so that we were able to give anyone a free ticket who needed it. And so there was just so much love coming into the room, and we definitely, I think, felt that, and felt that from the team as well.
And I think you can really hear it in the recording of the show. And like one of the things that's been so poignant in rewatching it is just like being able to feel that audience energy that we haven't felt in so long when you watch the show. And it's such a critical part of slam poetry too, is like that communication with the audience. And I love the way that came to this piece, you know. I don't know if this is a good moment for the two of you to talk about how you became such close collaborators and kind of like the creative community that you built around yourselves. I think you see it so beautifully in the show. And yeah, I just always fun to send love to other artists.
Yeah. I think I met Justice. I was probably 17 when I first met you. You were maybe 18 or 19. We were both undergrads at Brown at the time, and you know, don't tell anybody, but we may have not finished our undergrad. But luckily, it provided a foundation for us to focus on our art and our writing. And truthfully, I didn't even like her that much when we first met. No, we like actually actively did not like each other.
Y'all, for real, like this isn't even a joke. We actually had.
Amazing.
But fortunately, I think our first time really collaborating through an artistic setting was we were both on our CUPSI team. And so CUPSI is the National Collegiate Poetry Slam. And we were on that team together for Brown and RISD for 3 years. And I think by the last one, we were really close. But I would say, I think what was important is that it wasn't just a matter of us building art together and learning how to collab and building poetry. But if I can say this, we also were coming into our own journeys of gender and queerness through that too. And so the first poem in Anthem actually is sort of remembering that moment when we first came out to each other as trans, or as particularly not even as trans, but as women. And since then, our friendship and our collaborations have grown. We've been on multiple teams together. We've coached together, and we've built and grown into this beautiful community in the Northeast, or Northeast, as we say in the slam world. But Providence Poetry Slam is a place where we found a home, I think, in Rhode Island. And, you know, Sweet Pea Pumpkin is coming out of that scene. Charlotte Abatzi, Elias Evander, so many of our beautiful and loving friends. And then we also have been fortunate to be close enough to Boston and get to know and love a lot of Boston poets and a lot of Boston folks. And whether that was like house slam folks, Portia, Oompa, Zenaida, there's so many people I can name. But that community really also embraced us and has shown us so much love and support. And yeah.
I think part of the foundation for our collaboration too was friendship and the making of sisterhood. I think part of, you know, as I've reflected, you know, why did I just like want to fight you when I first met you? And I know now that it was a lot of identifying what I was afraid of in myself in someone like you, who I found to be so confident and sure of yourself. And at least that's how I had seen you at the time, right? And yeah, I think we lived together in the summer. Maybe I was like 19, you were 20, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was a whole mess too, because you were living with your ex and, you know, like
Not
Let's
good
not even
luck,
get there.
y'all.
But part of that was us getting to like learn how to live around each other, and not just even like we're living in a house together, but how do we like figure out what is a sustainable way to give back to each other? And I think being able to come out to each other and foster that growth and that development allowed us to establish some sort of trust between each other, where we can not just be friends, but we can also be artistic collaborators who know each other's vantage points so well that we're able to give honest and critical feedback and push each other. And I think that is how friendship has really been the foundation for our collaboration. Yeah. Also, I hate her. So like, she's so pretty. Like,
don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to me about that shit. No. And honestly, I definitely consider Chrysanthemum a sister. At this point too, there's people who literally will like be like, oh, is your sister coming? And they're talking about you.
We have different daddies, but also different moms. But it all worked out. The hospital mix up,
Standard.
Sisterhood. That's how sisterhood works. You don't need the same title, the same mom. It's just about being sisters. That's how it is. That's so amazing. You've talked a little bit about your community, and we know that we've been in 2020 and we're online and we're meeting, but we're not in the same room. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about like how do you sustain yourself as artists right now? How do you collaborate maybe a little more, and how the community is collaborating together and going through this time a little bit?
Yeah, it has been a wild time for art because I think, especially performance art, things have changed dramatically. We can't be in the spaces that we want to. We can't get the audience reaction, and trying to get audience reaction over Zoom is almost impossible, right? In a lot of ways. And fortunately, we both have day jobs, and so we have other means to sustain ourselves. But I know we've also still done some shows and still interacted within sort of the slam world. And so for me, that's been watching different slams and different slam venues turn to online and different digital slams happening. And I think as we've gotten used to quarantine, it's been cooler to see people develop those a little bit better in terms of how they're streaming, or particularly Listen Slam, LISSEN, run by Akeem Rollins, they've cultivated this queer space where even though we can't have everyone who's watching participate, all the poets involved are like, as soon as the poem's done, they unmute and then go hard, right? And so there's like a way that we've sort of found a way to foster that community love, and I huge shout out to Akeem for building that space really from the ground up. But I think it is something where we're still trying to figure out, what does performance look like in the age of Zoom and COVID. And I miss live performance, and I got to do one, fortunately, but even social distance feels different. You can't get to just hug people or do all the things after, but yeah.
And sustaining ourselves as artists, it's not divorced from trying to sustain ourselves as people right now either. And I've definitely had to think about, what can I take from art and performance and move into other aspects and arenas of my life. And I think a lot of people have used terminology like this time is unprecedented. There's a lot of focus on how now is different from the past, but I think we also, in order to sustain ourselves, need to grapple with, where are we pivoting toward, and what do we want to sustain moving forward. That perhaps there are some institutions of art and performance that need to rethink how do they want to move in the world as we move forward? And I think that's not exclusive to institutions of art, right? It's very much every single system, every single white supremacist system that polices people in this world. That's not exclusive to art and performance. That's the fabric. But because of that, I think it's really crucial that we be kind to ourselves emotionally, that we don't need to be productive as artists. There's no need to beat ourselves up for not creating right now. And I think it's okay to feel, and the function of art and performance, at least from how I see it now, is that it does create political ripples. It is supposed to influence and affect thought. And I hope that Anthem, at least, is one foundation that I will hold moving forward in terms of what kind of world do I want to live in. I want to live in a world without police. I want to live in a world without homelessness and housing insecurity. I want to live in a world where trans people don't have to be afraid of not having anything because they came out. And those aren't lessons that I can learn in school necessarily. That is a lesson I've learned through the practice and engagement of art and performance, especially with friends that I love. Oh, you can see my vacuum. Oh.
I think we're all quiet because that was, I think, just such a perfect way of talking about this moment that we're in and where we want to go, and what we want the work that we're making together to do, Do you have anything to add, Justice? Or
Yeah, I think that where we want the work to go, for me, poetry is sort of inherently political, and not in that it needs to be political, but that sort of my identities, the things I see in the world are politicized. You can't just be trans right now, right? Like, and you can't just live, unfortunately, because of these systems. And so thinking about what art does and the process of art, it's the ability to be creative, the ability to imagine, to envision, to draw connections, to build different understandings, right? And I think part of being a poet for me is how can I attach words to feelings in a different way? And so with the moment right now and going off of sort of what Chrysanthemum said, I also believe in the abolition of police, the end of homelessness and housing insecurity, healthcare as a human right, all of these things. And particularly on the notion of abolishing prisons and police, that means we still need safety, but we have to imagine it differently. We have to imagine safety that doesn't punish people, that isn't policing people, that isn't targeted. And so art has to have a place in building that vision and allowing people to see that we can build futures that we haven't had in the past. And that's sort of part of what the poetic process, for me at least, has been. And I think for a lot of the folks in our community who we love and care about, are helping build spaces that we can be fully ourselves. We can come in bold, knowing who we are, without having to shutter that and without having that hurt or infringe on other people's right to be themselves too.
Yeah, it's so important to remind everyone that art is beyond just the act of art, and that identity impacts just about everything. So thank you for sharing that. We have a few amazing questions. I mean, we have a lot of amazing questions, actually. So if that works with everyone, to share some of our some of the amazing questions that that have come up. I'll start with one that is about sharing a little bit of love to begin with, and then we'll go a little further into process. But Robert is asking, can you make more recommendations for clubs and online spaces where people can connect and see more trans performers and LGBTQ theater, and whose work is inspire you right now?
Good question.
I'm not sure if I have any direct recommendations. I think a lot of local theaters that are committed to revolutionary work and liberatory work are doing great things right now. I'm sure that there are little pockets of Facebook groups and things that you can find online. I know a lot of drag queens in the community have really pivoted to Twitch, which is a gaming streaming platform that has been really successful in order to raise money. But truthfully, I think I'm also struggling with trying to find nurturing spaces for performance. And I think that's because I need to tap more into what do I want in an artistic space right now. And I think I just want to build connection and trust with others. And so to engage with other trans performers, I think we do need to have a foundation of trust to do that effectively. I think Facebook is truthfully like where I've seen all the coolest performance stuff though. If you don't mind having your property taken by Mark Zuckerberg so you can get sold really cool things, check it out.
That's fair. And a shout out to our friends at TTO as well. I know Harold has been, in terms of recommendation, I know we work with a few people, and Harold Stewart was with us in the lunchroom in the same way we are right here, right now. Justice, did you have any that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I would say Listen Slam, and I think there's they're on Facebook. Fem Slam has done a lot of incredible work. So FEMS, the Feminine Empowerment Movement Slam, started right in Boston, and they've been going for a few years strong. There's been some amazing queer artists putting on work in Providence with the Wilbury Theater Group. And so those are things off the top of my head from people I've seen. Split This Rock also do shows like you're streaming. And yeah, I think for
Justice, it looks like we're losing you a little bit.
Am I back yet?
Yeah.
You are.
Okay, so just lost me again. Internet, and then I'm gonna try to fix my internet.
Yeah.
Sounds good. To maybe jump to another question from one of our audience members, this one from a longtime Oberon friend. Cassandra asks, how are you able to nurture each other's process? Which maybe goes a little bit to the conversation about your relationship and collaboration, but yeah. How do you nurture each other's like work and artistic process?
I think Justice and I nurture our artistic processes by, one, communicating what we are trying to accomplish artistically. We did a residency at Williams College a week before the pandemic really shut things down. And we were in the process of really trying to help craft manuscripts. And the wildest thing about that is the manuscripts exist, just in our minds, but we do, we do have a sense of how the other person's mind works. So we have a sense of what kind of feedback do you need to know? So we sustain each other through like feedback and trust. But I think the other part of it is that when I have, I guess, artistic and performance opportunities, I'm actively always looking for ways to incorporate other people. I think that, you know, if things can be collaborative, there's no reason not to. And I think there have just been different times when like I have a gig or Justice has a gig and we're like, oh, come on, come do this with us. And so we sustain each other quite like materially and financially by like, oh, I have this gig. You want to get paid too? Yeah. Oh, Justice, I'm not sure if you're still there.
Oh, I think, yes. Hi, Justice.
You moved.
Okay. Why don't we, oh, hi. Now we have
Hi?
you. Yes.
Hi? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Technology.
Yeah. No, sorry about that. But I would also agree with what Chrysanthemum said, and I think I'm still cutting in and out. But I think part of it is that because we know each other so well, we know each other's works, we can be completely honest with each other. And so we also know each other's crutches. We know when we need to push each other a little bit more, like, why are you using that word? You use that word a lot. What's the theme here? Like, is that actually what you're trying to say, bitch? And we can challenge each other in those ways. And I also agree. It's sort of what I was going to say before, and I think it leads into this too, is that all of my favorite artists and biggest inspiration are poets in my life. They're friends. It's not necessarily these bigger names or the canon. It's the people who I'm seeing make work like in real time in this moment I'm living in, who I can connect with on both a personal and artistic level. And Chrysanthemum is one of those people, right? So she serves as my inspiration. And it's, I think, a really blessed place to be, where someone who serves as your inspiration is also someone who can not only provide critique, but someone who you can push to grow as well. And so I think we have this collaborative process where, you know, we'll show each other poems and be like, oh, what? And then still also be able to be like, see past some of the gloss of it and still push each other to grow even more. And I think that's my favorite thing, because like literally I always say all of like the best poets I know are friends of mine. like my friends are the best poets I know. And we also get to see each other's work that not everyone gets to see, the small scribblings, the drafts that will never be shared publicly. And I think that helps us build with each other too, and really get to understand our work and our craft on a deeper level.
Justice, you talked about your friends as inspiration, and maybe that connects a little bit to a question we have from Alice about kind of how you each became poets. Like, what inspired you to start writing and performing poetry? When did you first, like, what were the first poems that made you think, I could do this, or I want to do this?
I can go quickly. I wrote a book of poems for class in like 7th or 8th grade, and I did really good, but we lost the book. And then I didn't write again until I got to I didn't write poetry specifically. I was doing more theater stuff, but until I got to college, and then I saw slam poems, and I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And then honestly, my first poems I thought I was hot shit. And I wasn't. They were like, they were fine, I guess. Like, and then I started building it and growing through both the same community and outside of it. And so the first poem I read out loud, I literally will never read again, because it really wasn't my thing to say. Even though friends of mine still make fun of me for it. But
okay, we'll talk.
You know what poem I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I think I really struggled with the idea of being a poet, but especially reading a poem aloud. For a long while growing up, I was in speech therapy a lot. So I always internalized this idea that my voice was incorrect. And it was really bolstered by being trans and having a voice, I guess, that can deceive my appearance. And I think in high school, I just did like an open mic. It was like a little open mic, like in a neighborhood. And I don't know, I just kind of like appreciated getting feedback from the audience who, you know, like right then and there, you could see how your work was received. And I had done more visual art before that. And so that reaction is much more internal, quiet, stoic. But in an open mic setting, you know, if someone thinks it's funny or good, they're going to let you know. And yeah, did I write poems as a child? I don't know. But I do know that, you know, Robert Frost was talking about trees and stuff. That turned me away from poetry for a while, because I thought poems were only about descriptively describing nature and not necessarily an extension of emotion, human emotion.
It's a great segue into like this translation of human emotion. How Mark is asking, Mark, who is with us behind the screen today and not on the screen, who is now your host. Hi, Mark. He's asking, how does the vibe or energy of a particular venue feed your performance? And have you ever walked into a particular venue and it shift, and had it shift how you had planned to approach the performance of your poetry on that particular day?
Oh, absolutely. Do you want to start on this question?
Sure. The one thing that I say pretty often is I have to be able to edit my poems as I figure out which location I'm performing them in. So sometimes if I've prepared a set that is very much about experiences with racism and homophobia and transphobia, you know, there are times when I try to I try to find places I can omit white from my work in order to accommodate the audience. It isn't something that I'm doing purposefully, but it's because that if I am standing in front of you on a stage and you don't like what I say, there's a consequence that you might be able to threaten me with right after. Luckily at Oberon, I did not feel that way. I felt really supported, especially by all of you, but like Mark, you were a real MVP. And I think that the environment that the whole team cultivates is really reflective and committed to, honestly, justice. And I'm committed to justice too. She's beautiful and talented.
I can't stand you. Oh, I love you. I would definitely say like, there's a lot of different things because venues, especially as like a performer, spoken word artist, like change dramatically. So there's the size, how many people are there, right? And that can change how intimate you can be with a poem. We've both performed at a lot of venues that are primarily white. And so that changes. For me, I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I think I do a lot of I like to call white people out like a lot. So I'll do some of my race heavier poems, particularly because I do want to see how they respond. But part of that consequence is they might not respond as much, or they might not actually understand what I'm saying at all. Performing for straighter audiences has been an interesting experience because then I'm navigating what parts of my queerness am I getting into today. And I would also just say audience response, like quiet venues where people may not be as experienced with poetry are harder to perform in. And so some slam poetry audience etiquette reacts. I like as performers, we want to hear your reaction to the poem because that energy helps us feed off that and build and know that, you know, we're being received.
Like, we literally want you to talk over us and be like, hey, it's so fucking good right now. Let me know from the audience. Like,
exactly. And especially if like I'm there as like, you know, I'm not on a time limit, like I can adjust to your loudness, right? Like, you know, we're professionals, we can handle it now. The energy that comes to us helps us bring it back. And I think that was probably one of the most amazing things too with playing with the theater is we had so many different tools. And I was telling y'all in our check-in before, like even just having a lapel mic where we can just walk around and not just be in one spot was wild. Like I felt like a stand-up comedian. I was like, "Ooh, yeah, and you over there, hey you!" Like it was great.
I'm glad you said that because I think that like audience response and audience energy is such a like through line for all of our work at Oberon. And I think, you know, all of our artists across pretty much every genre are, you know, dying to have the audience talk back to them and like be with them in the performance in that way. And it's one of the things that makes poetry such a beautiful fit for our space and what we're trying to achieve there.
And it's not something that everybody is always used to. So hearing directly from the artist, kind of having that permission to be loud and rowdy and sharing love, which is, I think, the message in the end. It's like, share the love that you feel right now about what I'm sharing with you. And like, let's make it a full circle. Hearing that directly from you, I think is always so helpful and gives so much permission for people to just like experience the art as it hits them in the moment it hits them and not delay that gratification kind of. It's just like everybody shares. Yeah. We have about 1 minute left. And even though I love to say always time is a construct, I think we want to be mindful of your time. Is there anything that you want to share that we haven't talked about, or something that's coming up that you really want to share, or how can we support you? How can everybody listening in support you, support other artists? Share with us. That's a good moment to do that.
Yeah, you want to plug the Fang Bail Fund?
Yes. And so currently in Providence, there's been, our uprisings have continued, and there has been a lot going on the local level with work to stop policing. And so there's a FANG collective community bail fund, and FANG is an organization that works on environmental and racial justice. They've bailed out over 100 people since the summer in Providence and are going to continue to use that money to do so. And so if you donate there, that's a big part of supporting our community. And maybe not the direct artist way, but definitely supporting folks who are part of our art. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Justice. That's awesome.
I think it's our time.
Yeah.
I mean, like really high.
Truly.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
That was so lovely. Thank you so much
so
for
nice
jumping
to
in.
See you and talk to you, and even in this time. And thank you for sharing all of your reflections and thoughts, as well as, of course, your beautiful piece. Which I'll just remind everyone, you should watch it.
Go check out Anthem.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you so much, Emma. And for everyone who's here, like, thanks for watching us in the middle of the day, especially after last night. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark will be back next week with another lunchroom. And in the meantime, if you want to know what to watch, just follow Chrysanthemum on social media. And they have amazing voices. And we love you very much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. All right.
Have a wonderful
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.